Good morning, Secretary Vicky Benavente. How are you doing this morning? I know you've got an early start to your Friday.
Good morning, Thomas, and good morning, team.
And so we just wanted to start with some of the good news that the Department of Labor got just the other day. We got the press release from the CNMI Governor's Office. The U.S. Department of Labor commends CNMI for proper implementation of the PUA program. Just what's your initial reaction to that? I mean, you were a part of that call.
Yes, well, Tomas, our initial reaction was, wow, we've done it. We've gotten through this 21-month journey with the help of US Dole and, of course, with the partnership with the CNMI people. This PUA program has been the most difficult of my career. The PUA was a new program. And so it was just great to hear that, okay, we follow all the procedures, we've done some things right. And of course, the monitoring bill tells us the things that we could do better.
And I just wanted to ask you, by the numbers, what's the latest PUA data in terms of those that have been received, disqualified, pending? Are you able to provide the latest update on that?
Well, I've got the data that we submit every week to the U.S. Department of Labor. Just an estimate of the numbers as of last Friday's October, the end of October. We still have several thousand PUA claimants that have not yet been adjudicated, but we have submitted, completed many more thousands. Thomas, I think you can recall back in 2020, we received 39,000 PUA applications and had to vet all of those to vet out all the fraudulent claims, the claims who were not from the CNMI, claims who were not eligible for PUA. And so we're really down to about 4,000 PUA claimants at this point in time that still are waiting to be adjudicated for what we call the PUA 3 claims that came under the CARES Act, which was December 2020 to September 2021. But we have adjudicated about 19,000 PUA claims to date from 2020 to 2021.
And Secretary, I'm sure you keep up with what the U.S. Delegate Kilili Sablan does in Congress and his end with relation to PUA. He released some data last night. Have you gotten a chance to see what he put out?
No, I haven't. I have not seen the delegates' data from last night. I understand that he has been obtaining data from the U.S. Department of Labor. As I mentioned, we submit our reports every week, and there have been times where the delegate has mentioned some numbers that were sort of outdated or behind. So I haven't seen his release from yesterday. I'd like to see that before I make comment, please.
Okay. All right. And so I know one thing that we always talk about here with regards to PUA on Guam is fraud. Can you, what is it looking like in the CNMI when it comes to fraud in PUAs? Are you finding large cases of those, or is it not a big deal for you guys there?
No, fraudulent claims in the beginning was a big deal. As I mentioned, when we received 39,000 applications and vetted 19,000 of those were determined as fraudulent claims. That was a big deal. We knew that there was a system flaw that allowed anyone to apply. And so what we had to do was anyone who applied, we had to go back and look at each and every one of those applications to be sure they are from the CNMI. But at this point in time, fraudulent claims are not a big issue for the CNMI, thank goodness. Most of the issues stem from a claimant that has made mistakes in their application. We call that misfiled earnings, or has not submitted complete documents, which we will not process without a complete documentation about their job status.
And I just wanted to talk about a potential backlog. We're seeing about 2,633 claims for both PUA and FPUC. Is that accurate, or?
When you say you're seeing 2,633 claims, Thomas, where are you seeing that?
This was posted by the delegate last night.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned, I haven't seen those figures, and today, as a matter of fact, we are issuing our weekly report for the period ending November 5th. The data doesn't sound too far off. As I mentioned, there was a couple of thousand. A month ago, there were 4,000, so it might be very close to it, yes.
Okay. And Secretary, I just wanted to ask you, I know we've spoken about this before. Some people have messaged us about having not received a single penny. I'm sure you've seen those posts and you've addressed this both at the legislature when you were there, in the Senate as well. So I guess what's your comment or message to those folks who are waiting, and maybe what's the context that this might be happening in?
You know, Thomas, there's two sides to every story, and I'm going to give you a general side on the CNMI side. When a claimant tells you that they haven't received a penny of PUA benefits, they're not going to tell you why they haven't received it. They may say, "Oh, I don't know," or "I don't understand," and that's my fault, because we can't make a claimant understand that we need complete documentation, we need complete verification. Then that's our fault. But we try to make the claimant see that in order to receive these public assistance benefits, we have to verify every single data that they provide to us. And if they don't provide the data to us, then there's no way we can expedite their claims for benefits or PUA or FPUC. And to that end, you know, we've had our telephone lines are open, our information for PUA email is always open. And we've seen the numbers go down from 4,000 a few months ago calls per week to just 1,000 calls per week. And so people are beginning to understand the nature of this piece, which is follow the rules, submit your documentation, make sure it's complete and accurate, and we will assist the claimants as much as possible, Thomas. So if a claimant does not understand why they're not receiving any benefits, that the onus is on my department to make it clear to them. And I need to find out why it is or what it is that this claimant is experiencing firsthand. And we do take a good log of all daily calls, and we take all the information that we can over the phone. 100% of our client is virtually met, either online or, we're still opening our doors for physical presence visits, but there's barriers for protection for the staff and also protection for our clients. So we're trying to help as many people as we can overcome these obstacles that are keeping them from receiving PUA benefits. We want to give these benefits out, Thomas. There's nothing more that I want to do to help our people out, especially during these times of, no jobs, very little economic stimulation because of our number one industry still trying to recover. Recovering it is, but slowly but surely.
Hi, Vicky. It's Sabrina. When I hear
Sabrina.
good morning. When I hear 39,000 applications, to me that translates to people who are hurting, like you mentioned, people who are suffering and so forth. And so I just kind of wanted to get what is the unemployment rate in the CNMI, and then on the other side of that, what sort of training opportunities that does DOL over there facilitate and provide to get people back to work in the CNMI?
Okay, let me address your first question, Ms. Sabrina. The unemployment rate in the CNMI Department of Labor does not have that data in front of me at the moment, but I can tell you that every quarter we receive what we call quarterly compliance data from about 800 businesses, and these data tells us how many employees they have, their job classification, and their visa status, among other information. And in putting that information together, we still see about 5,000 people affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, meaning their hours have been reduced, or they've been completely furloughed or let go of this job. And so that's still a big number of unemployed people in the CNMI. As far as training opportunities, we continue to have our Workforce Investment Agency provide training with the grants from the U.S. Department of Labor Employment Training Administration. And also we continue to assist any job seeker that comes to employment services and try and match them up with all the job vacancies that we are seeing on our DOE website, and with employers who either email us the job vacancy or announce it in the newspaper, or actively trying to help people match their skills to the skills that are being advertised by the employers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Secretary, I know you have a meeting with the U.S. Department of Labor today. How often do you meet with U.S. DOL, and what are those conversations like? Because this system is, fairly new. I mean, given that we've been in this pandemic for almost 2 years now.
That's right, Thomas. We used to meet almost daily back in 2020, and then it switched to weekly, and then now it's monthly. These meetings are always reviewing our data that we submitted the previous year, any issues that we have, for example, with the online portal, or any areas of concern that U.S. Department of Labor has with the CNMI. The meetings are very informative, and it's a great two-way communication street because we tell them everything that we have under our table that's of a concern. Understand this is a new program. The CNMI and Guam, for that matter, has never had an unemployment insurance program. And during the course of this whole PUA program, there were 3 congressional acts, right? We had the CARES Act and the Continuing Employment Assistance Act, and then the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. So 3 different laws that were implemented during the course of 20 months. And in all those laws, there's always rules and regs CNMI DO has to follow and make sure that we're in compliance. So the communication for me was very critical in having to go through this program and then letting our people know, here's what we have been told, we have been informed, we have been advised, we are required to do. And that communication was also dovetailed into everything we did for the PUA program, including employer workshops, employee webinars, reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce, the Hotel Association, and any other entity that would listen to us. Say, here's the program, here's what we need from you as an employer. Here's the program. Here's what we need from you as the applicant for PUA benefits. Thomas.
Are you seeing the same trend that we're seeing with other jurisdictions in terms of high availability of employment, but not as many applicants? Is that something you're hearing as well in your conversations with businesses in the CNMI?
With businesses in the CNMI, yes. This is the same thing that's going on in many of our other sister territories. There are job seekers, but there are no jobs because the economic conditions as a result of the pandemic. And until our 3 key travel markets come back to full force, as containing the virus and all its variants, we will not see an uptick of that great amount in the next year. I predict that this pandemic is going to keep us struggling for at least a few more months to a year into 2022.
I'd like to hi. Good morning, ma'am, Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
I wanted to ask because you just said that you anticipate it's going to be difficult for people to find work for the next several months or up to a year. Do you guys have any plans, or have you heard anything about a re-implementation of pandemic unemployment, or does Governor Torres plan on programming any of the ARP funds for any type of unemployment assistance program?
Definitely, the ARPA funds are helping to put people into jobs. We want to encourage everyone to upgrade their skills, perhaps to look at another job that they probably never looked at, but might have a tendency or a passion for, to upgrade their skills, what we call it upskilling. So I believe the administration is using its ARPA funds not just to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, but also to try and put people into jobs to help us mitigate the effects of the pandemic and to keep people working. Because as we all know, working keeps us healthy, I think, without a job, it's a tough situation. I see that with a lot of our folks who perhaps do not have enough of the educational background or experience background to put them into jobs they like. So we're trying to work with a lot of the education and training entities such as NMC, the college, the Northern Marianas Technical Institute, PSS, the public school system, and of course the business community and the CNMI. This is a big circle of stakeholders that are going to be helping each other out, helping our people get back into work, continue to work, or maybe get into a new job that they want to learn or become an apprentice for. There's a lot of things, Chris, that we can all do, step by step. It's not going to take just the CNMI Department of Labor to fix this, the effects of the pandemic. We all got to work together.
Right on. I also wanted to ask, how would you describe your working relationship, if any, or how often does your path cross with Guam DOL?
My paths cross with Guam DOL almost every week. I speak with Director David Deliasola. We share our horror stories and we share our successes and we share our issues. But I see that Guam is in the same boat, but your boat is a lot bigger. You've got a larger population, and you've got some industries there that are still going for you. So, kudos to you guys to to keep that going. We don't have a military base, and we don't have the many airlines that Guam has, but and our population base, of course, is 1/3 you guys. But I look to Guam as like a big brother. You know, what's Guam doing? How's that working for them? And then sometimes Director Dave would say, "Hey, Secretary, that really looks good, and we're going to try that." So we exchange our ideas and our practices that would help our programs.
So when you mentioned the fraud earlier, what did the CNMI experience and what types of fraud? Because when we talked with Dave, a lot of it was from off island, right? With these big criminal racketeering organizations. But we did see a lot of local or some local fraud anyway. So what type did you guys see?
In the very beginning, as I mentioned, the majority of them, close to 20,000 of the claimants, were fraudulent claims from out of state, off island, out of the CNMI. Now we're seeing if they're deemed fraudulent, it's very rare. What we're seeing mostly is what we call misfiled earnings. So people are filing and applying for PUA benefits, and yet they're working or are earning some money, and they didn't realize that, oh, okay, so you mean if I don't meet this threshold, I don't get PUA? And we're like, that's correct. You've got to meet a certain threshold of earnings in order to qualify for PUA. It's called unemployment assistance for a reason.
Yeah, because we saw that you got that your commendation from the U.S. Department of Labor, and we were just, and I don't want to make it awkward, ma'am, but we were just wondering here, where was the one for Guam? Did you and Dave have a discussion about that?
I can't speak for, Director David from Guam. I'll just tell you, the CNMI, as well as the other territories, have went through some really difficult times in pinpointing these fraudulent claims. We were fortunate to have U.S. Department of Labor's guidance. Look for these things. Look for an IP address that was from outside of the CNMI. Look for someone who had 5 names on one PO box. But that turned out to be something that was familiar to the CNMI. Many of our family and friends share one PO box, and so we have to take that off the fraudulent checklist. No, this is legit. There's 5 of them sharing the same post office box number. So it was really a learning experience, a difficult experience, the toughest of my career, but I think the most fulfilling as far as knowing that we help thousands of people go through this difficult time, and hopefully many of them are already back in the workforce. And earning some money to help their families, and hopefully earning money for a career, not just for a temporary job. That's our goal, is to put people in jobs that will help them for a career.
Ma'am, does CNMI DOL and Guam DOL, did we share the same software vendor for the PUA program?
At this point in time, we do.
Oh, you guys good?
Yeah, I'm good. I just did you want?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, Secretary, I know phone calls continue to be, the phone call center and the call center continues to be an issue. I mean, pretty much for every office, I feel. So what I know people are still saying they can't, or still, people still having trouble getting a hold of people through the call center?
As I mentioned earlier, our volume of calls have gone down drastically, Thomas, from 4,000 a week to about 1,000 a week. And so, and the lines never stop ringing, I'll tell you that. I've sat there covering for people during the lunch hour, and I'm amazed. Like, I put down the phone, ring, address their concern, put down the phone, ring. And so, yes, there's still some inquiries. And sometimes people will call, the same person will call 3 or 4 times in the day. And, there's no movement yet until the next day in trying to inquire about the status of their PUA benefits. And so it's been a trying situation for the claimants as well as for my staff. They are trying to address each question or each inquiry, and they do get to the portal online, and so they can provide them an update of where their application is, what documents are needed, why they haven't been processed or expedited for benefits. And so it's really an ongoing communication program.
Ma'am, we had, just going back to the, I don't know if it's necessarily fraud, but have you guys seen a lot of instances, because we did hear, where people were approved by DOL, received the benefits, and then later were told that, oh, actually you don't qualify and you have to repay back, or you have to repay everything back. I mean, we're talking, I've seen letters from people who have had to pay back $11,000, $13,000. And of course, their argument is that, well, why did they approve me if I wasn't eligible, right? So do you have that kind of thing happening in the CNMI too?
In the very beginning, we surely did. As you may know, we had an issue with
Have to
the
repay back.
CW1 workers, for example, who were not eligible during the CARES Act implementation, which was February 2020 to December 2020. And then in December 2020, the CAA included CW1 workers in the PUA program. And so many of these applicants who are under this particular visa category, Chris, had indicated in their PUA application that they were U.S. citizens or U.S. residents. And so the portal automatically paid them the amount of benefits for PUA 1, which was February to December. And then as we started the auditing and realized and confirmed that this particular applicant was not eligible, that's when they would receive a letter saying, sorry, you've got to return that $13,000 or $11,000 or whatever you got for PUA 1 and reapply for PUA 2, which was December 2020 to March 2021, and be eligible. And that's just one example. If they were also cited for overpayment, it would probably be because the fact that they were not released from their employment because of the COVID-19 reason that is cited in the regulation. Some folks inadvertently, mistakenly, or purposely put that they lost their job due to COVID-19. And then as we did the fact finding months later, we verified that the applicant really did not lose their job because of COVID-19. Matter of fact, they're still working, or they were never working in the first place. And so those are the types of repayment letters that have gone out to some applicants who had to pay it back.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, certainly thank you for coming on, Ms. Benavente, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Secretary. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. We're at 600 Harmon Loop Road, Dedito, Guam, ma'am. If you're going to be sending any a piggy or the blueberry bread, we're
That's it, Chris.
just a goodwill exchange between islands.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay. You know I can't let the NMI off the phone without hitting up the piggy connect.
Yeah.
Good job, Tomas.
Yeah, thanks. Interesting. Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
new information there.
And I did I did invite Guam Department of Labor Dave De La Sola to come on the show today, and actually whenever he can.
It would have been interesting to chat with each other, huh? Right.
Right. He's currently off island.
Let's be like, this is our weekly meeting on the link.
Right. But that was
Maybe next
it was
week,
really
right,
good.
right.
Good
Yeah.
to hear from her.
Yeah. Very well spoken.
I mean, she's busy, right? She was saying that she was in calls with DOL since like 3 in the morning.
What got me was when she said, "Oh, when I cover for people on lunch and I answer the phone." I was like, "Oh, you're one of those bosses. Wow, get in the trenches." Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when PUA first rolled out and people were, this influx of paper claimants, right? And yeah, they were on the streets, set up all the tents. And so lots of praise, and also lots of people who say they're still waiting. So,
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting that because you would assume that if the U.S. DOL is sending this pat on the back to the CNMI DOL, that if we were going to get a pat on the back, it would probably come at the same time. So that's why I was kind of asking, like, hey, what about us? Hey, what about us, CNMI?
I don't know. Are we part of that same? We're part
Did we
of
do
the
good
same
too?
region, right?
Yeah, we are.
Maybe the press release is coming, but
Maybe.
it really is something to be commended, because this was a whole 6-month review. It wasn't just a phone call. Hey,
Yeah.
they actually monitored them for 6 months, reviewing everything they did in the administration of PUA and FBUC.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, congratulations.
Right.
Great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the focus shifts now to getting people back to work.
Yep.
Right on.
Yep.
Yeah. 7:28. We're gonna take a quick break, and we actually did have some comments here. John Bagaforo comments in nice that the CNMI is identifying the Sakis.